We know how isolating, exhausting, and sometimes lonely motherhood can be. Let's commiserate together.
Let's face it, our kids and mom life are a beautiful and mysterious new world to navigate, and we need someone to talk to about it.
Let us be your new BFFs. You never know you need it. Until now.
I'm Heather.
I'm Jess, and this is
Just Us Gals.
Mommy.
Welcome to another episode of Just Us Gals. This one is titled, So You Had a Baby, Now What? And we're talking about all the ways that little baby has rocked you and shocked you. And joining us today is the wonderful, talented Baillie Scheetz, new mom to 6-month-old Leona, my coworker at the Oilers, and most recently, you can hear her with her father on her own podcast, Talking Sheets. Baillie, welcome to Just Us Gals. So happy to have another gal in the chat here.
Yes, I love this. I love the girl energy. I can feel it already. It's great.
And we are actually all girl moms. So Baillie, you had a baby 6 months ago. How's that going?
You know what? It's been, I would say, I don't have much to compare it to because she is my first child, but I would say overall good. Yes.
She's sweet. She's a sweetie. I've met her.
I think she's a pretty good baby. Yeah, I think she's like,
seems
as far
chill.
as she seems pretty, yeah, she's still a lot of work, but I think she's pretty good. It has been I always say that like the last 6 months I've been thinking about it because she turned 6 months like 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's felt like it's been 6 years of life because I've learned like so much. But then it's also felt like she just came out. Like it's been 6 days at the same time. And I'm like, it is just, time is so weird right now.
After I had Penny, I did, who's my first kid, I did an Instagram post, just like a story post, and it was titled, it was 1 week in, and it was this has been both the longest and fastest week of my entire life. Because it truly was. I couldn't believe, I was like, I've done this for 7 days. This is amazing. But then I also thought, oh my God, it's only been 7 days. And I have a whole life of this coming up.
Yes, I know that feeling exactly. Baillie, we like to start every episode off with a win or a loss of the week. We're going to start off with you. Are you winning or are you losing this week, Baillie?
I think that overall we're winning. I think we've come over the 6 month kind of hump. I cried a lot over 6 months. Like 6 months, the fact that my baby has been alive for half a year was like very emotional for me. But now I'm like, okay, this is good. We've got another 6 months before I cry at her first birthday. So I think it's been a pretty good week. It's been a pretty good week.
I
We've
love
got
it.
some decent sleeps, which is really what makes or breaks the winning and losing.
100%.
Honestly, it's everything. If you're not getting decent sleeps, then you're losing every single time.
Yeah,
I know.
Yep.
Jess? Wins? Losses?
Okay, so I thought I had a win, turned into a loss. But then I had an even bigger loss today. And you know what? Like, ladies, I'm sure you can relate, but as having young ladies ourselves, having girls, it's so important to raise women who aren't weird about their food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm trying really hard, their food relationship, and I'm trying really hard with my girls, but damn, they love their treats right now. And I let them have treats. I'm still figuring out the fine line between letting them have whatever they want and, you know, drawing the line at that's enough. But I said you have had too many treats. So now I'm putting treats up on a pedestal and they want them more. So I think this is a huge loss right now. And Heather, I think this should be a podcast episode on just like, how the hell do we deal with this? So that's my loss for the week. I don't know if anybody has any insight. I'm willing to hear it. Holy cow.
Same boat. That's my insight. Snack.
Right.
I only want snacks.
As someone who just like in the last 2 weeks has started feeding Leona like actual food, it's been so crazy to see what she likes and doesn't like and things like that. But I'm already dreading you're supposed to keep food neutral, right? But then you're like, I want to give you treats at the same. I want treats. I need a sweet treat after every meal. So I'm not sure how to. I can't think about that yet. But I'm sure it's a challenge. I have no advice for you.
Yeah, I literally said to her today, I'm like, listen, like I like to like get real with them. I'm like, listen, I love treats too, but we have to eat our dinner first. We have to eat food that makes us big and strong
To fuel
and then
you.
Exactly. And then we can have treats, which are fun and yummy to eat. Like, I don't know. We'll let you know if we figure this one out, Baillie.
Yeah.
Yep, I got some time. So you figure it out. Let me know.
Yeah.
Still trying.
Are you going to do the no sugar before 2 thing? Or are you just going to
Well,
Wing it.
she's already gotten a little bit of whipped cream, so I guess she had a tiny bit of sugar already.
Girl after my heart.
I keep not purposefully giving her sugar, but we were eating pie, and my dad was like, "Can we give her a little whipped cream?" I was like, "Okay, she can try."
It's always
whatever.
the grandparents.
It's
always the grandparents,
and they don't know the rules. They've never heard of that. I assume we just like ate sugar out of the womb, or like we just got whatever, because there's no rules when it comes to the grandparents. So she did have a little bit of whipped cream already, but other than that, no sugar yet.
Yeah,
they are unruly.
Oh yeah, probably sugar in the pablum.
The pablum, stop.
Pablum.
That's PTSD inducing.
The amount of pablum talk my mom would give me. Put her on pablum. It'll keep her spit up down. I'm like, you know what? I'm not. No one recommends that anymore.
The baby's 3 weeks old, and you're like,
I know.
Give him pablum.
Yeah.
Literally. Oh, they're not sleeping through the night? Pablum.
That is it. Pablum apparently solves everything. But I never did it. For me this week, I think a lot of people can relate to this. Big time loss with the freezing cold weather. The amount of TV my kids have watched and screen time has been next level. And you know what? I'm usually like, don't give myself a hard time for that because, you know, I love TV myself. So what I'm lying to my kids by telling them, no, you can't watch TV. Yeah. Like, no, I want to watch it. And especially since my oldest wants to watch the shows I do now.
Sailor Moon now.
Yeah, Sailor Moon. And I showed her High School Musical today, which I also enjoyed because I was a camp counselor, so it was like part of my growing up. But the screen time has been through the roof, and I felt pretty guilty about it. But I don't know what else to do. It was like minus 39 with the wind chill here today, so I'm like, I am not going outside with that. And it's been a long weekend, which doesn't help. I'm just running out of things to do with them, so it's TV.
That was honestly, we can't judge you for that.
I'm giving myself some grace. What else am I supposed to do? The weather will get nicer and we'll have more options, but I do feel guilty.
You know what? I'm going to give myself some grace for giving them 12 marshmallows today, so it's fine.
There you go.
I think we're all doing our best. There's a lot of inside recess going on.
Yes. Right?
Okay, so let's dive into the meat of the subject, Baillie. You are a new mom. Like I said, you have a 6-month-year-old. You have a 6-month-old. All right, okay. What most shocked you about becoming a first-time mom? I like to think that every expectant mother thinks they know, but I truly believe you don't know until you know.
I think the thing that shocked me most immediately after like leaving the hospital was how difficult postpartum recovery was. I feel like everyone is like, oh, you either have a vaginal birth or you have a C-section, and like there's talk about that, but there's not a lot of talk about how you're just in so much pain after. Like I think that I was thrilled to have my baby. My birth was okay. She was healthy. Everything was okay. But then I was just like in so much pain and recovering while not sleeping and keeping her alive, trying to learn how to feed her while also just like, I think that everyone's like, once the baby comes out, you're worried about the baby so much. And I even felt that a little bit at the hospital where they're checking the baby and doing everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was good. And then I got home and I was like, oh, I'm actually in a lot of pain. So I think that was the first like big shock was just like, oh, that was a really traumatic experience on my body. And now I'm here taking care of this thing while also trying to take care of myself. That was a really big, eye-opener, I think, was postpartum recovery. And even 6 months later, there's still things that I'm dealing with and going to physiotherapy and things like that. So I think just, I definitely underestimated how long that would take.
I think I am completely on the same page as you. Like, what is crazy to me that you put your body through actual, like, trauma. That if you were to go through this in any other scenario, you were given time to recover after. Like, you were in bed for a few days afterwards. But no, this is, you are like, okay, and here's a brand new baby, a life that you have to take care of, and kind of like, screw you. Who cares? I remember sitting in in my rocking chair in the middle of the night, breastfeeding this baby, not even sure if I was, because that's another thing, is how do you feed this thing? And just being like, oh my, I'm in my diaper.
Yes.
Like, oh,
Yes.
what is going on? What is my life? And I am so tired. I am in so much pain. I don't even know if I'm healing properly. And I didn't heal properly. And so, yeah, I completely agree. It is something that I don't think anyone can be prepared for.
Yeah, and I think that they tell you either a C-section or a vaginal birth, and you deal with one or the other, but there's complications and like different levels of every kind of birth, and there's definitely not a lot of like pre-education on that. So it was a lot of learning, a lot of like taking a mirror and being like, oh my, is this what it's supposed to be? Like, I don't know.
Almost need to, you know what, my advice is look at the mirror before you give birth.
Yes, because I didn't know what I was working with, and then I didn't know what I was working to get back to.
Right.
I know. There's an episode of a show that I started watching right after I gave birth. It was called Life in Pieces. And the very first episode
I love that show. Yes.
This is what sold me on it, was they have a newborn baby, and first they're driving home from the hospital crying, being like, are we allowed to leave with this? Like, I can't believe they're letting us go home with, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and I'm like, so true. And then the other thing is, there's just a scene where you just hear her scream, and she's like, I looked down there. I shouldn't have looked. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I would not have understood or even found any of that funny had I not been through that myself.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. And then beyond that, you have a baby that you said trying to feed, and you're like, I don't even know if this is happening right now. Like, they give you a 30-second tutorial on breastfeeding, and then they're like, okay, good luck out there.
It? Hamburger, hot dog, like,
football.
Yeah, holds. I'm like, what? Yes. Goodness. Jess, what about you?
Well, I was going to say breastfeeding was probably something that really shocked me, because I thought you just put them on. Luckily, that was my experience with Parker, my second, but with Emmy, holy, talk about a learning curve. It was rough. Like, I remember being at the hospital, she would nurse for maybe 2 minutes, and then I was like, yes, we nailed it. And then the nurse was like, that's not, like, you need 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
And 20 minutes at first is dreaming.
Well, and it actually gives me like anxiety to think maybe what could have happened, because she was very underfed. Like, I think she lost a full pound. The first night we brought her home, she was just screaming bloody murder because the poor thing was so hungry. And I thought I was feeding her. But no, but before I left the hospital, the lactation consultant came, and I got a solid 20-minute feed. I don't know what kind of witchcraft she did with me, but Emmy was eating. We get home, I thought, oh, I got this. Would not latch, wouldn't get it. I was literally in tears. I didn't know what to do. It was, luckily it just clicked, but the LC came back, I think the next day. And then I think when the nurses come to your house, they help me again. And then we were off to the races. But guys, that took me like a good week. Like, it was, like, Bailey, what was your experience with that?
Well, my problem was that I had a 9-pound, 3-ounce baby. So she came out, and she was huge, and she was hungry. Like, she came out hungry, and
ready to eat.
Again, being a first-time mom, I had no milk to offer her, like, immediately, you know, like, that's the other thing, is like those days before your milk really comes in, it's like, colostrum is supposed to, they say a nurse told me, your baby's stomach is the size of a marble, like, they don't need that much, they just need a little bit of colostrum. This baby came out with, like, I think her stomach was the size of a cantaloupe coming out, like, because no matter what I did, there was nothing that was making her happy, and we were in a shared room with 2 other babies overnight. And and I had the problem baby, and that's the worst, because the other 2 were very sweet and sleeping and not screaming, and my baby she was so hungry and so, like, just ready to eat that she screamed for hours and hours and hours, and I kept trying to feed her, and I couldn't. Like, I was doing all the things they told me.
You're already anxious being in the shared room, you're already anxious not knowing how to feed your baby. Now you're in a shared room. The anxiety's through the roof.
Sorry. And you don't want to be the baby waking up all these new families, but it's her, and she was the problem. But after, I think, 5 a.m., she was born at 7:30 at night. At 5 a.m., one of the nurses said, I think that if you're open to it, we should, like, give this baby some formula. Like, she is so hungry. And I was like, yes. Why did you suggest that 5 hours ago after
this was an option?
We've woken up the whole wing of the hospital. And So we gave her a little bit of formula in the hospital, and like immediately a different baby. Like so happy,
nice.
so fed. She went straight to sleep. I was like, okay, I felt like I could breathe again for a little bit. And so then for the first, I would say 2 weeks or so of her life, we did a little bit of a mix of both. And I tried to figure out how to breastfeed while also having less pressure. You know, I was like, okay, we have the formula if she needs it. And they often tell you that if you formula feed at the beginning, that it's going to be really hard to continue to breastfeed. But for me, that was not my experience. Like I just topped her up with formula for the first couple of weeks, and then eventually we kind of, the nurse that came to our house was really helpful for me too, and we figured out our rhythm, and then she didn't want the formula anymore, and we kind of continued to breastfeed, which was lucky. I think it depends on the kid, but that formula at 5 a.m. on the first night of her life, I was so thankful for it. I have never been more, she was just hungry.
I'm
baby.
also happy to hear that they suggested formula.
I think it was a really good nurse.
Because I felt a lot of pressure to figure out the breastfeeding. And I was like, my baby is like, they are just hungry. Like, I just need to feed her. And I'm like, and I can't figure this out. And it just kind of makes you feel a bit like a failure. You're like, isn't this, because I think that's why people should be told this more, is because you just kind of picture it being this like magical moment where you have this baby and you bring her up or him up. They just latch and everything's fine, and it is the furthest thing from that experience. And I felt like such a failure for so long, and I'm pumping and I'm trying to feed them, and then finally I started topping up with formula, and it was game changer. Same scenario. She was fine. My first went on to breastfeed totally fine. It was just like for your own peace of mind, because you're also not going to be able to do it well if you're so stressed about it.
Yeah.
So knowing that she was fed and hungry and happy, I was like, okay. And then I was able to take a bit of pressure off myself, which then everything just went fine after that. Thank goodness. With my first. So yeah, that's nice.
Baillie, if you have another kid, I bet your nursing experience will be totally different, like mine.
Yeah.
Like was
every kid is different.
Heather?
Chloe snacked. And she lost so much weight, and then I ended up, they basically told me that I needed to stop breastfeeding, and they said to just do formula. So she went full formula, thriving. And then she finally gained all the weight she needed, but dragged it out 5 months, 5 whole months, until finally I was like, this baby she needs to be formula. And then she was great.
Yeah, I think that you can go into, for me for sure, like being pregnant, you're like, this is what I'm gonna do, you know, like my baby's gonna be fed this, and this is how I'm gonna do it, and then when you actually see your baby crying in the hospital, like hungry, it doesn't matter, you know, like it just, whatever makes them happy and healthy, I was very thankful to have that nurse that was like, you can just give her some formula, she's huge and very hungry. And I was like, and we're waking up these poor babies in this room.
Right.
I had a similar experience. We were both heavily medicated. It was a long labor, ended in C-section. Anyways, the baby I had in the hospital was not the baby I took home. And that first night, same thing as Leona. She would not stop screaming. She was so hungry. And they actually sent me home with one of those little like Unfamil bottles with the nipple. As soon as that touched her lip, I swear she didn't even eat it. She just got a taste of it, and she was out for the night in the middle of my bed. And I'm like, I don't even care. Good night. And we both just slept so hard that night. Yeah. Okay. So with this being said, has there ever been a moment, Baillie, where you thought, I can't do this? Or it just, I don't know. How did you work through that?
Do you mean with breastfeeding or just in general?
Just in general.
Oh,
6 months. Has there ever been a moment you're like, I don't know if I can do this?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have an analogy that I told my husband. I think it was like 2 weeks in. And at that point, she was born completely flipped days and nights. Like she would be sleeping completely. I think it's very common.
Yes.
But she would sleep all day and be up like into all night, every half an hour, every 45 minutes. Like she was not a good sleeper at the beginning, which I don't think many are. She's a new human. She's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But
got to give her grace.
In my previous life where Jess and I worked together, I would travel a lot and go to some nice hotels. And so I would tell my husband, when I close my eyes, I'm at the Four Seasons. I'm just pretending I'm at the Four Seasons right now. I can't do this. I need to be in a beautiful hotel room in a random city.
Those hotels with the heated toilet seats.
Oh, yes.
Oh
where the lights follow your footsteps.
17 pillows on the bed, like that was my happy place in those difficult times, for sure. So I found that, like, for me, the first month was by far the hardest, and then there's like a moment where you're like, I'm never going to be able to leave the house again. I'm never going to be able to shower again. I'm never going to be able to do any of these things, eat in peace, like any of the things I used to do. And then for me, it just felt like at some point after the first month or so, like smoke cleared, you know, and you're like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. We're eating, we're sleeping a little bit better. I'm getting used to this schedule. Maybe I'll be able to leave the house one day. Like you get used to it. And there's just, I've always been told that there's a moment where you're like, okay, this is getting easier. But the brand newborn stage for me was not my favorite. It really wasn't. And so I now, with her being 6 months old, and like we hang out, she's like my little bestie now. Like we hang out and we play and we do stuff, and she laughs and we talk. Way better. Like I know that some people really, really savor and love the newborn stage, and of course she was so cute and small, but the first 3 months, that was not my favorite time.
There's a reason they call it the fourth trimester. It's it's real. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was still healing at that time too, and so it was just like it feels like a blur now, but there was definitely moments where I was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I thought that I had a hard job, like at work. I was like, I work a lot of hours. I do a lot of things. I don't sleep a lot because our hours are crazy with the schedule. So I thought I was going to be prepared. And then once you go through the first 3 months of motherhood, you're like, oh no, this is a different kind of hard. This is harder than anything else that you're ever going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have nothing to compare it to either, right? Like it's in its own league.
Yeah, sleep exhaustion is a form of torture. So,
but didn't Chloe or Penny sleep really well for you?
Yeah, I was so spoiled. I used to like hate when people would ask me like, "Oh, well, how many hours of sleep a night are you getting?" And I'd be like, 8 or 9 or 10. Like
you have to wake yourself up to pump. You were having such good sleep that she chose to wake up.
So I know, which is crazy. I didn't do that with my second, but I remember she was 8 weeks old. Maybe, actually, I think she was 6 weeks, and all of a sudden, it had been 8 hours, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I, like, ran in the room to see if she was breathing, because we did put her in a crib, because it was right beside our room, pretty early on, just because it wasn't working having her in the same room with us. Long story, but, so, I quickly ran in to check, and I'd been checking, I'm like, okay, she's asleep, to the point that I freaked out, and I called HealthLink, and I was like, is it normal? Is there something wrong with my baby? And they're like, I mean, if she's, she's fed this, and that, then you're just count yourself lucky. And I was like, amazing. But I was. Wow. Penny she slept extremely well, and she slept through the night by like 6 or 7 weeks old. So I was quite spoiled. Chloe was not the same, but I was pretty lucky with Penny. I know Jesse.
Is she always a good sleeper? Like, is she still a good sleeper now? Wow.
Yeah, she's a little saint, actually. I'm super lucky with her. I mean, we've had our moments where there's a while where she was afraid of stuff, so I had to like help her with, being afraid of the closet, or she went through a phase where she thought her bed was full of ants all the time. So it was a strange one. But I've always managed. It's always very short-lived. So that's, with Chloe, it was a whole new learning experience with like, now if Chloe gets sick, I know I'm in for a rough night. If Penny gets sick, I know she's going to sleep more. So it's kind of interesting between the two of them.
It's my belief that you are either born a good sleeper or you're not.
Sure.
I did not breed good sleepers. Unfortunately, neither of them.
Emmy's not. If I recall, Emmy was keeping you up through the night for, I think I was at your place. I helped you that one night where
it was sleep training, wasn't it?
Yeah, because she was quite...
I think Heather started sleep training with me, Baillie.
Wow. She
yeah.
Are you for hire? Or?
I am. Yeah, I got tons of advice. The person who had their kids sleep the night at 8 weeks.
Home. Yeah. She was about to go home, and then she's like, "Are we doing this?" I'm like, "Let's do this." And I think she left like 2 hours later.
Yeah, I helped you stay strong.
Yeah. That's nice. That's like to have a friend there though. It would be helpful because that kind of stuff is hard to do on your own for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Agreed.
I have a question because this is always interesting for me. What have you found has been an actual useful baby item? Like what's been your like you would recommend to anyone? You're going to give it as a gift. What has been the most useful items that you've found in the last 6 months?
Let me think about it. I think right now a big one is diapers. You go on a journey of like finding different diapers that work for you, and I think what I've realized is diapers can be very personal, because like recommendations I've had from friends don't always work. But we have a decent sleeper now, so she'll be sleeping 8-hour, 9-hour stretches, and I do not want to have to change her diaper in that time and wake her up and then go through this whole thing. So we've tried now the Little Rascals night diapers. Little Rascals, the brand, incredible. We have never had a blowout in a Little Rascals night diaper. We've never had a leak in a Little Rascals night diaper. They're comfortable. She's completely dry when she wakes up. Like, even no matter how much she's gone in the middle of the night, she feels dry, no kind of diaper rash, anything like that. Rascals night diapers, I love them. I do. I am quite passionate about telling people about them, which is, I think that they're the best that we've tried so far. And we've had a lot of trial and error when it comes to night diapers. So that's
unfortunately, this is not sponsored by Little Rascals night
diapers.
But, it could be. Let's do it.
It could be. It could be. Yeah. They make some pretty good TikToks, the Rascals brand. So maybe you girls can get a sponsorship. But if we're talking about like feeding, and if breastfeeding is what you choose or what works for you, I have had a lot of success with the Haka. I know that lots of moms really like that, but the Haka is amazing, especially in the beginning when you're leaking everywhere and you're just like, this is insane. Like my mom, when I showed her when I got it the first time, she's like, when I was breastfeeding you, I just used to leak everywhere and I had to change my clothes all the time.
And you can get like a bottle out of that.
Yeah, so I guess to describe it for anyone who hasn't used it, it's like a suction that you put on the opposite side of where you're feeding your baby, and then any kind of product that leaks out, it suctions on and catches it. And I actually got pretty lucky in the beginning when I was sort of regulating my supply. I got a lot of extra that I then froze for the stash in my fridge, which now I'm mixing into foods for her and stuff like that, which has been really helpful to have. And pumping did not work super well for me, so it would be the only way I would have extra milk would be using the Haka, and it works super well. I don't use it as much now, but in the first few months, it was like my ride or die for sure.
I didn't actually use the Haka. Actually, Heather, I think it was you who was raving about the Haka. So I tried it with Emmy, but at that point I was too regulated. I wasn't really leaking that much. But I used it with Parker. And that was gold. But
so satisfying.
But here's
when
the thing,
you look on the other side and it's like full, you're like, oh my gosh, this is liquid gold, and I didn't even have to work for it. Like anything that you can do that doesn't take time or energy from you is just amazing.
Yes. But Parker never took a bottle, so I would do mix it into food and stuff. But I don't know. At what point do you just give up?
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Okay, so to counter that then, what are the most useless items you have? Just don't waste your money on it.
We purchased a fairly expensive bedside bassinet, and I regret it every day. She did sleep in it for about 5 or 4 months or so, but we ended up. It wasn't the snoo. It was just like a normal bassinet. It wasn't the one that like puts the baby to sleep. I would be interested in that, but I was like, we're
amazing.
Yeah, we didn't use a snoo. It was just like a regular bassinet. And we also purchased, because we are going on a couple trips and went on a couple before she was kind of 6 months old, we purchased a travel bassinet as well, which like can fold up and go on planes and stuff. Again, I had a big baby. She's still 99th percentile for height and weight. She's huge. She grew out of her bassinet that we spent, I think, $400, $500 on in like 4 months. She was past the weight limit. We had like pushed it to the point where she was past the weight limit, and then we ended up just using our travel bassinet, which is on the ground, so there's no weight limit to it. I looking back, I'm like, we should have just used the travel bassinet the whole time instead of purchasing a bedside bassinet. Now she's in her crib, which again has been really great for us to have a little bit of space, and because she's a very noisy sleeper. But I think just like a bassinet in general, it's like, if you're going to buy a pack and play or a travel bassinet or something like that, just use that. For the amount of time that you use it, it feels like a ton of time in your mind. You're like, as soon as you bring the baby home, but it's like 4 months, 3 months. It's just like not worth spending that money. I think that was one thing for us. And then the Snuggle Me, the Snuggle Me lounger.
Yeah.
lots of parents told us to get that, rave about it. We ended up borrowing it from a friend. She came home almost too big for it. So you can't predict.
So borrowing is key then.
Borrowing in general,
100%.
like we got really lucky with, we got really lucky with a few different products that friends of ours let us try, and things she didn't like. It's like, oh, thank goodness we didn't spend a ton of money on that, you know. So the Snuggle Me, she came home almost too big for it. You never know what size of baby you're gonna get. By counter to that, we borrowed a Baby Bjorn bouncer from a friend, and that was her rider. Like, she was in that thing the most. Like, that was a big. That's worth the money.
Weight in gold. Yes, worth its money.
I love that.
So we borrowed it and then purchased one because that was like, you could tell right away that was something that she was gonna love. So that's one thing I would recommend. But the bassinet, we barely used it.
For my bassinet, I used the bassinet that came with my stroller, to be honest.
See, and we had that too. So we had a travel bassinet, a bassinet, and then the stroller bassinet, and we needed one, not three.
Yeah, I personally loved the Snuggle Me for Emmy, but Parker wasn't really in that. You know what she was in more was that it's called a boppy pillow.
Oh yeah,
it's the one where they're a bit more propped up, and we would. This isn't safe. Don't take my word for it, but just put her on the kitchen table and just let her chill in her little boppy, kind of like sitting there.
Before they can roll and get around and move,
it's perfect.
You can just plop them anywhere. They're just.
It's a good docking station.
Yeah.
That was a good one, and Parker, we used the stroller bassinet as well, and we borrowed a bassinet from my sister, and thank God, because both my girls co-slept. They wanted nothing to do with their bassinet, so. Borrowing is key, but for me on the Baby Bjorn train, I would agree, one of my favorite items, as well as the Baby Bjorn mini carrier.
The carrier?
The mini one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's the mini one, because I find that the full size one is just like a little too roomy. Like they don't get too snuggly.
When they're little.
The mini ones. Yeah, I found it on Facebook Marketplace for $15. Oh. And oh my God, I would have spent like $150 on this thing. It was the best.
Yeah. We bought most of our products from Marketplace, and it was like, first off, it was a fun, like, pre-baby ritual to go on Marketplace every day and see what was available. But second off, now looking back on the first 6 months, how quickly she went through things and grew out of things, it's like, thank goodness we didn't spend the money on that. Like we got our stroller is secondhand from Marketplace. So much of what we got was just used, but barely used, because you barely use these products in the first few months.
It's so short.
Yeah, that was definitely key for us.
Yeah, I think that Marketplace is, if the listener's going to take away anything from this podcast, is buy secondhand or borrow. Like, you make a good point there.
You never know what kind of baby you're going to get in terms of what they're into, how much they're going to grow, what size they're. You could have a tiny baby that loves. I know. A seat, you could have a massive, you never know. Even clothes, secondhand clothes and like borrowed clothes or like hand-me-down clothes were huge. I went into motherhood thinking that I was going to buy all these amazing little outfits for my newborn and things like that. They just pee and poop for the first, like, there is no point in dressing those things in any, like, they just need clothes to cover their body, whether that's something that you've gotten hand-me-down or from Once Upon a Child. Once Upon a Child should sponsor your podcast. I love Once Upon a Child.
I love that idea.
That is the most amazing store ever. But like secondhand clothes, because they truly don't wear them for very long at all.
They don't, and that's especially at the beginning, they grow out of things so fast. They don't even have time to dirty things, and they're not crawling around and getting into things, so they pretty much stay clean. I mean, my kid was a major spitter upper, so there was a lot of stuff I did have to throw out. But besides that. Clean, barely worn. And also everyone tends to gift a bunch of newborn clothes. I find so they wear something maybe once, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, it doesn't fit them again. Or it's the wrong season. I found they would get me clothes, and all of a sudden by the time she grew into wearing them, it was like a winter sweater, and now it's summer. I'm like, okay, well, secondhand, that's the way to go.
Well, and on that note, too, is my second was a lot smaller than Emmy was. And so she was born 2.5 months after Emmy. Emmy was a summer baby. Parker was a fall baby. So seasons didn't align. But it didn't matter because Parker was so petite that she was wearing things when she was 2.5 that Emmy wore when she was 1.5. So it was just kind of like a crapshoot at that point. You're just like, pick something that fits her, right? So it's just
You can never guess, and the sizing is crazy. Like you can't go based on the sizing. That's another thing that I've learned is like,
yeah,
Leona is in some things that are 18 months, some things that are 6 months. I'm like, I don't know what your deal is. I'm like, it's like women's clothing, to be honest. You never know what size you are.
They start
young. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna be confused for life. You never change.
You know what? You actually reminded me. I do have one more question for you. My sister-in-law is actually expecting, and it's been a couple years. I kind of forget in what capacity I need to show up. Did you like people showing up to your door? Did you like check-ins? Did you like people sending things? What kind of help did you like when you were in the thick of postpartum?
Yeah, we had a friend drop off on our door a care package of just like food, but not like groceries and not like a pre-made meal, but like frozen pizzas and like cinnamon buns. It was from Freezin' Brothers. And so she gave us a giant care package of like also just like junk food and snacks and a bunch of things, and just left it on our doorstep and just texted, hey, by the way. And I like sobbed when we got that, because at that time I was like, I don't even feel like heating something up. Like it was a bunch of just like grab and go food. It was so incredible. And any kind of help is appreciated for sure. But I think that just like dropping something off is such a kindness that you can do, because sometimes you're not wearing a shirt and you don't always want to be ready for guests. So just dropping something up on the step and is such a nice way to show up for a friend or a family member that's going through that. I really appreciated that. And then also just all of my friends who had babies prior letting us borrow stuff. That's the other big one, is being like, come to my house. What do you want? You can borrow anything. Was like really, really helpful too. And then it took a little bit of the load of buying so much stuff off of us as well.
Gift basket on the doorstep. Of food. I love that idea.
I love that idea too. I'm stealing that. So thank you to
well,
your friend.
I already have. I already have.
Business idea?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Like a baby care package.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. It was just seeing a bunch of like yummy food on our step that we could just eat immediately.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Just had a baby food package.
Just had a baby food package. Let's patent that right now, ladies. Okay, Baillie, well, we will wrap this up. We would love to hear about Talking Sheets. How is it working with your dad on this project? I love it, by the way. It's funny. It's down to earth. You guys have such good rapport. It's a great podcast. It's just easy listening I listen to my podcasts while I drive, and it's just like a good driving podcast.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we're both in a weird transitional phase in our lives, and mat leave was an opportunity. I am really loving the time at home with my daughter, but I also am used to doing so much, and I'm used to working all the time and being creative. And my dad just left radio, so he worked on the radio for 35 years and took a step back from that semi-retirement. And so we both were sort of at this weird phase at the same time where we're used to doing a lot of work and creative projects and used to connecting and doing and telling stories, and we couldn't because we weren't in our jobs at the exact same time. So we decided to try something new and launch a little bit of a podcast, and it's been going well so far. Yeah, we're 6 episodes in now, and getting our rhythm a little bit. There's a lot of growing pains at the beginning. It's kind of like motherhood. You're sort of thrown into the middle of it, and you're like,
it's a new kind of baby.
Yes, you're like, we're nurturing 2 babies at once right now, but we've learned a lot, and I think that like no matter what, if it's successful or not successful, it gives me an opportunity to connect with my dad every week, and we've interviewed some really fun guests, and so that's been cool. And yeah, we'll see where it goes, but it's been a fun project for sure. A family, keeping it in the family.
I love how real you guys are with each other. Like, you can just tell that you are close, and I just love that.
Yeah, I have to keep them on the rails sometimes, for sure.
Have you heard that she looks a lot like your dad, Leona?
Yes, and
I think they're twins.
I don't love that.
In the best, sweetest way possible. She's a little cutie. But the genes run deep.
I have heard that on multiple occasions, and you always like, especially when you birth a daughter, you're like, oh, I've gone through all this work to grow you, and then I pushed you out, and you're like, I hope she looks like me. I hope she doesn't look like my husband. I wouldn't have thought that she looked like my dad, but she does a little bit. She does. Hopefully she grows out of that.
Oh, that's too funny. All right. Well, Baillie, is there anything else, any other remarks you would like to share for the new and expectant mothers out there? Just anything that just heads up.
I think the biggest thing is that nobody knows what they're doing, and you can go into it with as much research and books and planning and TikToks and reading about motherhood, and you actually have no idea what you're doing. But the amazing thing is that nobody knows what they're doing, and I think that you kind of have to like own that and realize that we're all trying our best, and we're all just teen moms at heart. I always say, like, I'm a teen mom out here. I'm 30 years old, but I'm a teen mom just trying my best. And I think that the sooner you're like, okay, we're just learning together, the baby and you, the better it is for you, because there's no amount of planning that you can really do to prepare you for your individual child or your individual experience. And it's an amazing journey, but it's crazy.
Okay, well, Baillie, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again on your 2 babies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
My human baby and my podcast baby.
Yes. It's always so nice to talk to you and pick your brain. I hope we didn't scare people too much.
I do, yeah. I feel like I do really love my baby, for the record.
Here, listen, we get it. We get it. This is a space where we commiserate together. It goes without saying, we love our children, but
it's a given.
Hard.
Yeah,
it is. Great. Yes, and I think that some real talk would have been beneficial for me about 8 months ago. You know, so I think that what you're doing is great. You're warning the people.
2 thumbs up. Love it.
2 thumbs up.
And it gets easier.
Oh, yes, it gets easier. 6 months. Once you get to 6 months, it's so much fun.
And it gets fun because they start doing their milestones. They start crawling and sitting and pulling themselves up and standing, and then walking is when you get in trouble. But
little potatoes.
You know.
Yeah. Right now, I think I'm in a sweet spot.
You are in a sweet spot. Enjoy it. But yeah, it's
and
just so much
fun.
fun.
So cute at 6 months.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
Baillie, are you sharing your Instagram handle for people who want to creep your baby and her cute outfits?
Sure. Oh, yes, of course. Our cute secondhand outfits. You can follow me at Baillie Scheetz or at Talking Sheets, both, whatever. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it. Love the Leona content and love the content with your dad. Just so wholesome. Who doesn't love that?
Yes, some good family fun.
Good family fun. Okay. Well, thank you, Baillie. It is late because, as moms do, we do bedtime first and then we podcast. So we will let you go. Hope you get some beauty sleep tonight, and thank you again.
I hope we all sleep amazing. That's what I hope.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. That's all we can do. Fingers crossed. All right. Thanks, Bales.
Thank you.